The United States Postal Service honors John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, the late Congressman John Lewis, with a stamp. Congressman John Lewis was a freedom fighter and a trailblazer, as most of us know. And it is always good to acknowledge that. So glad he is much deserved. He very much deserves this stamp. He does. Oh my God, it's a beautiful thing. And hopefully his family finds it to be a beautiful thing too. Let's put up this headline: John Lewis to be honored on a US postage stamp next year. He's rolling out in 2023. And the picture, oh my God, he looks so regal here. This is classic Congressman John Lewis, and just in a great stature. So the late civil rights trailblazer and Congressman John Lewis will be honored on a new postage stamp in 2023. The United States Postal Service announced on Tuesday, which was yesterday, so beautiful, the Georgia Democrat who dedicated his life to activism and spent more than 3 decades in Congress fighting for civil rights will be featured on a stamp using a photograph taken for a 2013 issue of Time magazine. USPS said in a statement the photograph was taken by Marco Grobe. It's a beautiful photo, it really is. Jackson, any thoughts about this?
Well, John Lewis, he's definitely one of the people that in each generation, we get a few people who really dedicate their entire lives to public service. And he's definitely one of those people. He's in my dad's generation. My dad's in his 70s. And so he remembers that time that made him famous, where he first really popped up on the scene. And so, especially for somebody like me, I'm just 30 years old. I have a lot more to learn about John Lewis's life.
Sure.
So I definitely look forward to reading more about him and the things and the ways that he's contributed. And, he's absolutely somebody to look up to in the fight for political change.
Yeah, indeed. And he was a follower and colleague of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Lewis participated in the lunch counter sit-ins. He joined the Freedom Riders in challenging segregated buses. And at 23, was a keynote speaker at the historic 1963 March on Washington. So just even a little younger than you are right now, Jackson, he was in the mix. Another example and reason why we need multi-generational involvement in movements across this country, because it is when younger people, in the middle people, and more seasoned people get together that we can absolutely change the world. And Lewis was widely seen as the moral conscience of Congress because of his nonviolent fight for civil rights. His death in 2020 after a battle with pancreatic cancer prompted an outpouring of tributes from politicians, world leaders, and former presidents. Let's put up a quote, one of my favorite quotes from Congressman John Lewis. But one of them, which we don't have up, is that we all should be willing to make good trouble. But this is another one that is very apropos for this very moment that we are in right now. And he said the following: we are involved now in a serious revolution. Yeah, he used the word revolution. This nation is still a place of cheap political leaders, who build their careers on immoral compromises and ally themselves with open forms of political, economic, and social exploitation. What political leaders here can stand up and say, my party is the party of principles? Hello, somebody. Look, I'm about to jump out my seat, because what Congressman John Lewis said is very apropos for this very moment. I mean, Jackson and I just did a whole story on how politicians are just bought and sold. Put that back up, y'all. Put that back up. Let's go on and rest right there on that particular quote from the congressman. We are involved. I got to read that one more good time. We are involved now in a serious revolution. This nation is still a place of cheap political leaders, meaning, baby, they bought and sold, but pennies on the dollar, who built their careers on immoral compromises. Like not expanding and protecting the child tax credit, and ally themselves with open forms of political, economic, and social exploitation. What political leader here can stand up and say, my party is the party of principles? Not one of them can do that right now. You better say that, Congressman. And listen, we're gonna watch this right now in the Word. We'll hear from Congressman himself.
If it hadn't been for E.D. Nixon or Rosa Parks Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Ratha Abernathy, and so many others, I don't know what would have happened to me. I could have been lost. But for Martin Luther King Jr. to sent me a round-trip Greyhound bus ticket and invited me to come to Montgomery to meet with him. My First Baptist Church. It's impossible. Impossible for a poor barefooted boy to dream that one day he would meet Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow. And the congressman's physical presence will be missed, but his spirit will live on. The way he feels about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I feel about him. He came to Ohio to campaign for President Barack Obama. And I was able to be there with him with so many others as he toured this state to help President Barack Obama win. Congressman John Lewis, you are indeed a champion for the ages. You personify what justice looks like. And you are absolutely right. Your call and your message to all of us to continue to make good trouble is heard. And we will heed that call time and time again across the generations, across identities. Conscious-minded people will put a little extra on their ordinary so that extraordinary things can happen. We appreciate life that you lived, and to your family, you're lifting them up. You so deserve.